Welcome to the Getting Through Today podcast. I'm Brita. Come along with me as I share my story of the ups and downs through chronic illness and depression, all while being a mother of 5. I know healing is possible, and through every phase there is beauty, even if we don't always see it at the time. I know what it feels like to just get through one day at a time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back. Today's episode is one I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time because it's something I've lived through, something I see over and over again in my own healing and in the stories of others. And what we're talking about is the connection between emotional freedom and healing. Because here's the truth. You can do all the right things, the diets, the protocols, the supplements, the routines, but if you are carrying unprocessed emotions deep in your body, something will stay stuck. And if you've been wondering why healing could feel incomplete, this episode might be the missing piece. Most of us weren't really taught how to feel. We were taught how to behave, how to be polite, how to stay calm, how to keep the peace. We heard stuff like don't rock the boat, don't make a scene, don't cry, especially not in public. And somewhere along the way, we learned that certain emotions were acceptable and others were not. Anger, dangerous. Sadness, weak. Grief, private. Disappointment, inconvenient. So instead of expressing our emotions, we might have tucked them away. We might have stored them deep in our bodies, in our stomachs, our jaws, our shoulders. We might even numb them with busyness, distracting ourselves with perfectionism or productivity. We might even smile through the pain because it feels safer than being honest. But here's the truth. Your body knows. Your body has kept count, and those feelings you try to ignore, they don't disappear, they accumulate. Unfelt emotions don't evaporate, they get stored in your body. They simmer beneath the surface, and over time they can start to look like chronic fatigue, anxiety, muscle tension, digestive issues, autoimmune flares, that constant sense that something's not quite right. In your nervous system, it stays on high alert, bracing for an emotional storm you never let yourself feel. And this isn't how our bodies were designed to live. We were meant to move through emotion, not hold it hostage inside ourselves. But honestly, feeling can be terrifying, especially when we've been conditioned to avoid it at all costs. Growing up, my life was full, and I loved it that way. I was constantly on the go. Violin, piano, voice lessons, homework, sports, games, time with friends, family time, school. My calendar was packed, and I thrived in that rhythm. Then came college, more freedom, more fun, more movement. I played intramural sports, dated, stayed out late, went to school, had a full-time job, and still filled my schedule. I wasn't resting, but I was distracted, and that felt like enough. Then came marriage, motherhood, more responsibility. I threw myself into it, loving every moment of it. I did freelance design work. We fixed up our old farmhouse. I was chasing around my kids, trying to be everything for everyone. Always busy, always doing, and I loved being busy. I loved it. It made me feel useful, purposeful, alive. When my body started to break down, when chronic illness and depression hit me full force, I didn't know how to slow down. I didn't even know how to feel what was coming up for me. I couldn't process these emotions on a long run like I used to. I couldn't outwork or outrun my feelings anymore. And I certainly didn't have the energy to pretend. So I think I kind of numbed. I watched shows, I played solitaire while watching shows, so I didn't have to think about too much. I definitely say I checked out because checking in felt too overwhelming. And the hard part about it was I didn't even realize I was doing it. I thought I was just getting through the day, and so many days that was about all I could do to get through the day. Looking back now, I can see that I had years of unprocessed emotion living inside me. And yes, I had a lot of physical things that I had to resolve, going to doctors, and, I've tried so many different things. I'm not saying everything is all emotional, but it definitely doesn't help. If you're chronically hurting, maybe start looking into some of this other stuff, some of these unprocessed emotions, and kind of see what's coming up for you. You might be surprised what you find. But somewhere along the line, I had decided that being happy, funny, and energetic were the good emotions. And being angry or grumpy or sad meant something was wrong with me, that those were somehow bad emotions. So if those bad emotions showed up, I'd try to get over them really fast. I'd either push them down, wrap them up in something positive, and move on. Because I didn't want to be difficult. I didn't want to be seen as negative, and I didn't want to be a bad person. I wish I had known better. I wish I had given myself permission to feel it fully and to be fully human. To feel the whole spectrum, not just the parts that made other people comfortable. I used to journal a lot. It was my safe place. But I noticed when I got really sick and really depressed, I stopped writing. Not because I didn't need it, but because my words felt too heavy, too dark, too sad. And I didn't want to see myself that way. So I just stopped writing. I stopped acknowledging the truth, and still I sat in the sadness anyway, hiding away from my emotions and from other people. But then I didn't have the outlet of writing, and I wasn't giving myself grace. I think I was in denial about how broken I really felt, and it didn't help me heal. It kept me stuck. Sure, I tried to eat pretty healthy. I talked to close friends and family. I went to doctor appointments. I felt like I was doing all the things that to help myself get better. And those things, they all helped in moments, but they weren't enough. Because what I really needed were tools. Simple tools to help me move through the emotion instead of around it. I needed space to write the hard things. I needed breath work. I needed someone to tell me that anger doesn't make you bad, that sadness doesn't make you broken, that emotions aren't meant to be judged, they're meant to be felt. And that I could feel them without becoming them. And then something happened that was pretty great. Like I said, I've tried so many different things, and I started exploring breathwork sessions, and I was doing a holotropic breathwork session, and I was very surprised with the deep experience I had, where I almost felt like my body was speaking louder than my mind. And while in that space, I had, I guess we'll call it a visualization. But what came to my mind while I was doing that breathwork class was I was surrounded by blue balloons, hundreds of them, floating gently all around me. And I love the color blue. It's calming, safe, familiar. So the whole scene felt kind of comforting, but a little mysterious, like something important was about to unfold, which was kind of interesting because it was just a bunch of balloons. It felt fun too, because when I was a little girl, I used to love balloons. So as I moved closer in this visualization, I realized that each balloon had a word written on it. All these balloons, they looked exactly the same, but the only difference was the words that were written on them. And the first few balloons that I noticed were the ones I always wanted to feel. They were the emotions that I was taught that are good. Happiness, joy, gratitude, excitement, hope, love. But then as I continued on going slowly through all these balloons, I saw more words. And they were words that I've tried to avoid. Words like anger, disappointment, fear, loneliness, grief, frustration, and shame. And I noticed how instinctively I wanted to reach for all the happy ones. But something in me paused. And I began to just gather all of them, every single balloon, by those strings that were holding onto them. And I wasn't just gathering the words that I liked and not just the ones I understood. I realized that each emotion, every single one, had a purpose. Each one is part of our human experience. And it was just so interesting that all of these were the same color, the same material, but they were carrying different energy, different messages, different invitations to feel something real, to feel something different. And as I stood there in this visualization, holding all of these balloons, representing all of my emotions, the good and the bad, I realized that none of them were wrong. None of them made me broken. They were meant to be felt. Because how can we know pure joy if we've never tasted deep sorrow? How can we fully appreciate peace if we've never known the ache of chaos? I kept gathering those balloons until my hands were full, until I couldn't carry any more. And then something beautiful happened. I began to rise. Not in spite of the hard emotions, but because of them, because I had chosen to hold them all, because I had honored each one as sacred. I needed to stop labeling them as good or bad and start seeing them as part of a whole. And as I floated upwards, surrounded by all the shades of blue, I realized this is what it means to feel. This is what it means to live fully, to rise with your whole heart, not just the parts that feel polished or pretty. We don't heal by pretending the hard things don't exist. We heal by facing them. Let me repeat that. We heal by facing them, by feeling them, by loving ourselves through them. And maybe that's where freedom begins. And I love this visualization. I look back on this and I'm still kind of surprised at that experience I had, but I love it. I talk about it because it's so important. It helped me shift my perspective on the way I was looking at different emotions. And it really was one of these classes, what got me into looking into being a facilitator for breathwork on my own. And I'm loving this course I'm doing because I know that we can have these amazing experiences that can help us, to guide us. So it's been a really cool journey to get into breathwork. And as I think back to that breathwork moment surrounded by all those blue balloons, it really did shift something inside me because it reminded me that healing is not about avoiding emotions, it's about honoring them. And that really is where true emotional freedom begins. And don't get me wrong, emotional freedom does not mean you're happy all the time. It doesn't mean you never get triggered or you never feel angry or overwhelmed. It just means that you're not owned by your emotions anymore. That maybe you're not afraid to feel them. You're not ashamed to express them. You can cry, scream, grieve, celebrate, and let it move through you instead of getting stuck inside you. What I think emotional freedom is about is giving yourself permission to feel it all. Letting go of emotional judgment, building emotional safety in your body, and reclaiming the parts of yourself you've been taught to hide. Because when your emotions are free, your energy can flow. And when your energy flows, your healing unfolds. You begin to move through the world differently, not weighed down, but more whole. You stop stuffing down your feelings, and instead you make space for them. You create ways to release them. You start to trust that you can handle whatever rises. And that's not weakness. That's resilience. Maybe even what I like to call soft strength. So if you're listening today and wondering where to start, just start here. Write the truth, even if it's messy. Breathe into the tension, not away from it. Allow yourself to say, I'm angry or hurting without an apology. And remind yourself, every emotion you feel can be a doorway, not a dead end. It depends how you use it. You were never meant to carry it all alone. You were meant to feel it, move it, and let it teach you something about who you are. That is emotional freedom. And it's waiting for you right here in this breath. So here are a few patterns I've seen in myself and my clients when emotional freedom is missing from the healing process. Number one, we'll call it the plateau. This is where you're making progress physically, then suddenly everything stalls. Labs are improving, your routine is solid, but you feel stuck, like you've hit an invisible wall. Number two, the cycle. This is where you keep looping back into old symptoms, especially during emotional, stressful times. A flare shows up not because you did something wrong, but because something inside still feels unseen or unsafe. Number three, the shutdown. Even when your body is doing better, you feel disconnected. It's hard to access joy, creativity, playfulness, like you're physically present, but emotionally numb. 4, the outbursts. You feel fine until you're not. And then it all pours out all at once, the tears, the rage, the overwhelm, surprising even you. And number 5, the pressure cooker. You stay positive, grateful, composed, but deep down you're holding so much that hasn't been given space to breathe. Now, these 5 things, they are not signs of failure, they're signals. They're these messages from your nervous system, your body, your inner self saying, hey, there's something here that needs to be witnessed, not managed, not shut down. Sometimes the biggest shift in your healing doesn't come from the perfect supplement, diet, or protocol. Sometimes it comes from saying the thing you've been holding for years. The truth that you've maybe buried under coping and caretaking, the grief you've never let yourself grieve, the anger you were taught to fear, the sadness you learned to hide. That's emotional freedom. Not being perfect, not being positive all the time, but being real, being honest, being whole. And if you're listening to this and saying, well, I have all these physical things going on, but I don't believe in that other stuff, well, give it a try. Do some journaling, do some breath work, start digging in a little bit and see what comes up. You may be surprised what you've been holding on to that is, in fact, affecting your physical body. Okay, so how do we actually build emotional freedom? Especially if we spent years avoiding, minimizing, or even bypassing our emotions just to survive. If feeling your feelings has always felt like too much, too messy, too scary, you're not alone. This is not about ripping off the lid to all your emotions at once. It's about creating small, safe, intentional moments to start reconnecting with yourself honestly and gently. And here's just a few gentle points to help you begin. Number 1, name what you feel without censoring it. Instead of saying, I'm just tired, try naming what's beneath the tired. Maybe it's, I'm heartbroken, I'm angry, I feel invisible, I'm scared things will never change. Let your honesty lead, even if it's raw and even if it surprises you. Number 2, journal without editing. Let it all spill out. Just let it go. Don't worry about grammar, neatness, or how it sounds. This isn't for anyone else, it's just for you. You don't need polished words to be real, you just need the truth. See what comes up for you, and then go ahead and rip it up and throw it away. But see what's coming up. 3, use movement to express emotion. Your body often knows what your mind is trying to ignore. Put on some music and let yourself just move to the beat. Dance, shake, stretch, stomp, punch a pillow, cry when you stretch. Whatever comes up, just allow it because there's no right way. Let your body speak when words feel too heavy. 4, practice breathwork or hypnosis. These are both very powerful tools to help you bypass the overthinking mind and connect directly with the emotions stored in your body. Even just a few minutes a day can help your nervous system shift from shutdown to safety. It's not about doing it perfectly. It's about making space for release. And I've had people say, oh, breathwork and hypnosis don't work for me. And I say to them, well, what are you expecting from it? Because if you just allow those things to calm down your nervous system and you keep those as a practice, little by little, as your nervous system regulates, you will notice changes in your everyday life, your health, everything. So give it a try. Don't count it out. And number 5, find a safe place to feel. Now, this might be with a therapist or a support group or a trusted friend who knows how to hold space without fixing. And sometimes it's just a quiet room, a journal, or a voice note you record just for you, or talking out loud to yourself. You don't have to feel alone while you feel your feelings. And you don't have to go from emotionally shut down to this radically expressive person overnight. It's a practice, almost like a reintroduction to yourself. And every time you choose to show up, even just a little bit, you're building emotional safety in your body. You're building trust. You're building freedom. One breath, one truth, one step at a time. Now, here are a few questions you can explore this week during some journaling time to support emotional freedom. What emotions do I avoid and why? Take a look at that. See what's coming up. What was I taught about expressing anger, sadness, fear, or joy? Or what was my perception about expressing them? What happened if I did express them? When was the last time I fully felt an emotion without shutting it down? What would emotional safety look like for me right now? As you journal some of these or journal whatever's coming up for you, really get curious about what's coming up. And as you explore these things, just keep finding more tools to help yourself process through these. And here's a gentle reminder. Healing does not mean you never feel heavy things again. It means you stop being afraid of them. Emotional freedom is not something you earn. It's something you remember. It's your body's natural state. And it begins the moment you stop judging your emotions and start listening to them. Your feelings are not wrong. They are not too much. They are not proof that you failed. They are messages, invitations to be seen, to be heard, to be moved through. You deserve to be fully alive in your body, to feel safe inside your own skin, to experience peace, not just physically, but emotionally. Wholeness is not about perfection, it's about presence. So this week, give yourself permission to feel what you've been holding back. Cry if you need to. Scream into a pillow if it helps. Dance, journal, breathe, or just simply sit with your hand over your heart. Just allow your body to speak the truth you've been carrying silently. Allow those emotions to rise, not to overwhelm you, but to release you. And as you do, trust this. Your healing is already in motion, not because you forced it, but because you finally made space for it. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You don't have to feel everything at once. You definitely don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to keep showing up. You just have to keep getting through today.